Hello everybody and welcome along to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna, Seca. We're ready for our first race of the weekend and we're bringing our media together, IMSA Radio and IMSA TV, to take you through the 50-minute race that's coming up here from this beautiful circuit. Great to have you company. I'm John Hindle. And it's the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series for 2018, and it's live on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. Adam and Jeremy Shaw will be taking you through the race, but before we get to the green flag, Jeremy Shaw will run you down the 18 cars that are on the circuit on their formation lap.
18 cars for today's 9th round of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, and there'll be, as usual, 4 categories of drivers, everybody running the same Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo, but 4 categories of drivers based upon experience. Basically, we have pro drivers at the front, we have Pro-Ams, we have AMs, and we have LB Cup, those racing for pretty much the very first time. So 18th position, William Hubble in car number 69 for Wayne Taylor Racing. His teammate Randy Saleri will start in number 10 from the 17th position, both of those two running in the Pro-Am category. Row 8 of the grid is all LB Cup. Sheena Monk in car number 7, also for Wayne Taylor Racing, and Brett Meredith in car number 66, running for the first time with P1 Motorsports. Row 7 on the outside, Justin Price in car number 21 for Dream Racing Motorsports, an LB Cup contender. Ahead of him on the grid, 2 AM cars. Rob Ecklin Jr. making his debut in car number 47 for PPM, and for Wayne Taylor Racing's Cameron Castles in car number 33. The LB Cup pole sitter, car number 88, Parents Mullins, for the second time in 2018 for US Racetronics, will start in the 11th position. On row 5, 2 AM cars. Brian Thenis in car number 17, also for US Racetronics, and for Dream Racing Motorsport in car number 2, championship leader Ryan Hardwick. 2 more AM cars ahead of him on row 4. Shay Holbrook in car number 67. Very good effort for her. Equals her career best starting position for PPM. And on the pole position for the 14th time in his career, former AM champion. His 4th pole in 2018. Car number 09 for US Racetronics is Damon Oakey. Pro-Am car of car number 63, Mike Headland, making his debut also for US Racetronics, will start in the 6th position. Alongside him, Madison Snow in car number 29 for Change Racing. 2 more pro cars on the second row of the grid. Brandon Godovic in car number 46 for PPM, and Trent Hinman in car number 1 for Wayne Taylor Racing. The championship leader in the pro category, car number 50, Eduardo Piscopo, will start on the pole for US Racetronics. It's his second pro pole in 2018 for that team. But on the overall pole position, his 4th overall pole, but driving in the Pro-Am category, car number 71 for P1 Motorsports from Italy is Loris Spinelli.
That's the way they will line up. The lights are out on the Huracan safety car, and they're coming to the green flag this time. The 50 minutes will start at the drop of the green, which will be done by our honorary starter, Marine veteran Liana Gutierrez. Shea Adam has the cars as they come through the penultimate corner down the hill, and it's looking like they're getting side by side. We're ready to go racing.
Nearly 11,500 horsepower will be seeing the green flag here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. 18 cars in the field with 4 different classes, 4 Pro-Am entrants, 4 Pro entrants, 6 from the AM, and 4 from LB Cup. Anyone's game, and a podium is not a guaranteed thing. Our pole sitter on the inside in green and black goes early. Laura Spinelli taking a good jump and bringing Trent Hinman along with them. The number 1 car goes from 3rd to 2nd off the green flag, and as they crest the hill and dive down into turn 2, Spinelli has clear track around him, but the battle is on for 3rd as the 46, Brandon Godovic, tries going around the outside, and the 50, which started on pro pole, has now dropped to 3rd.
Yeah, Brandon Godovic there was on the outside line going around turn 2, and Eduardo Piscopo decided not to give him much room on the exit. Godovic had to lift off there in car number 46, tucks back into the 4th position. Lost a little bit of ground there to the number 50 car ahead of him.
And that is Madison Snow right behind Brandon Godovic. We have very much a championship fight on our hands, Jeremy, for that pro category. 4 cars have been running in it all season long, and the 50 comes in as the championship leaders. They have 95 points after qualifying yesterday versus Corey Lewis, Madison Snow in the 29 white machine. They are on 93. The 46, the red car that made such a bold move at the start, trying to go around everybody in turn 2. They are in 3rd on 89 points, and in 4th are our pro leaders right now for that number 1 machine, Jonathan Ciccato and Trent Hinman. It's very much anyone's game with 4 races still to play.
Absolutely, just a 1-point advantage coming into this weekend, but as Jay alluded to there, another point for the pole there for Eduardo Piscopo and Taylor Proto, who will drive the second half of this 50-minute race.
Lap 1 coming to a close as JC Perez's co-driver Laura Spinelli crosses the start-finish line, led from pole, and has led the first lap. So for Laura Spinelli, 1 down, a lot to go. Making his debut here in California. First time he's raced out in California for Laura Spinelli in that number 71 machine. Trent Hinman, though, with a great start in that number 1 car, not only knows how to race in California, he knows how to win. Laguna Seca is a track where Trent has stood on the top step before, and he's looking to replicate that in the Lamborghini again this year. In the race last year for Trent, it was a pretty successful weekend, finishing 2nd in the first race and winning the 2nd. He's looking to sweep both of them this weekend and get himself and Jonathan just a little bit further up in that championship hunt.
That is the plan, but it's very tight at the front here. That was a great first lap there by the 22-year-old Italian Laura Spinelli. 2.5 his advantage it was at the end of lap 1, but on this lap 2, it's Trent Hinman that goes purple, fastest of all through sector number 1. That's the run from the start-finish line to just before turn 5.
In the AM category, it is the 0-9 of Damon Oakey, the pole sitter, who continues to lead, who is half a second behind Mike Hedlund, the second place of the Pro-Am cars, the number 63. But Shea Holbrook, after her best qualifying effort, or dual best qualifying effort, in that number 67 Lamborghini, the blue and black machine with Bubba Burger written on the side, she's not letting Damon disappear off into the distance and is doing very well to hold on to second. Damon Oakey, though, is focusing forward, and he is looking all over Mike Hedlund trying to find a way by. All these cars are identical. The distinguishing feature is the driver. So when you put the gas pedal all the way to the floor, it will go just as quickly if you're in Pro or if you're in LB Cup and making your debut into racing this year. For Damon Oakey, he knows that his car is just as quick as Mike Hedlund's. He just needs to figure out how he can be as quick as Mike Hedlund. Slight
mistake there for car number 17, Brian Thenis, in turn 4. Lost a good bit of momentum, had to kind of throw that car sideways halfway through the corner. Thought he was carrying a little bit too much speed, but gets it all under control, but certainly lost some momentum as he headed off toward turn 5. And car number 17 running in the 3rd position in the AM class, again for US Racetronics.
Hasn't been the best of weekends for Brian Thenis. We've had a couple of red flags in the practice sessions yesterday, and they were caused by Brian Thenis. So the car with a little bit of left side damage as it's sporting this weekend is back in its normal colors, but has had an altercation with the car that is leading at Road America that required an entirely new car. So the last time we saw Brian Thenis in that number 17, it was all black. Glad to see it back with the red, white, and blue. Laura Spinelli, though, is checking out 1.6 seconds now after completing 3 laps. It's only 7 miles, but he's pulled out almost a 2-second gap and is continuing to improve upon best time lap after lap. He did the personal best Sector 1. Trent Hinman still has him peaked in Sector 1, though. Knows how to get through that tricky second corner a little bit quicker. And Spinelli's car looks very twitchy, Jeremy, as he turned into turn 5. It was reluctant to grip toward the left, and there was quite a bit of correction needed from Spinelli to actually make the car turn. Not the case from Hinman's car. He's seemingly putting that Lamborghini where he wants it with ease.
The fastest lap on lap 2 went to the second place car of Trent Hinman, but Laura Spinelli responded last time around. That new fastest lapper, 125.5, as you say, pulled out 0.3 of a second over the second place car of Trent Hinman. Those two seem, though, to be very, very closely matched on pace, and there's some really good battles all the way down the field.
In LB Cup, it's Paris Mullins leading Brett Meredith. Mullins, who is coming in as the championship leader in LB Cup in the number 88, shares with Mark Proto, who he will hand over to after the mandatory pit stop. And we should mention, as Sheena Monk has had a huge off. Is that at the corkscrew? I believe it is. We are yellow. We are in a full course caution, as that is one severely damaged Lamborghini. Looks like it went straight on at the corkscrew and is now sitting in the gravel trap. We'll let you know more information when we do, as the field has been neutralized, and she had no brakes going into the corkscrew. Holy cow, a huge accident where the car went massively airborne, straight up in the air, nosed into the tires. That, to me, Jeremy, looked like a braking issue and not any fault of Sheena's.
It really did look that way, didn't it? She went at unabated speed there. She did a good job to avoid those two cars that were directly ahead of her there, to not just slam into the back of one of those cars. Actually, she might have been better off actually doing that, because that would have slowed the car down somewhat. But yeah, hats off there to Sheena. And that was a very, very frightening incident. That car was a long, long way up in the air, and it came down again, fortunately on its wheels.
Yes.
But yeah, a frightening moment.
And the IMSA safety crew is with Sheena, so they are they have the driver's side door open and they are talking to her. I'm sure that she's a bit winded after that. It's quite the roller coaster ride that you never want to go on.
No, that's we've seen some nasty accidents there in the past. So gosh. But Laura Spinelli it is then who leads. Trent Hinman remains in second place and leading in the pro category. Eduardo Piscopo came in here as a championship leader in car number 50. He's running in the second place in the class, third place overall. Brandon Godovic there and Madison Snow, they're right with them as well. They dropped just a little bit of ground, perhaps a couple of seconds behind was Godovic, behind the number 50 car of Eduardo Piscopo. In the AM class, though, Shea Holbrook doing a really, really nice job there in car number 67. That's the Bubba Berger entry. She is the spokesperson for Bubba Berger. We were joking yesterday when I saw her. I said, if you go off the road here on the exit of turn 4, we can give you the excuse you were trying to deliver us some something to eat during the afternoon. But she didn't do that. She drove a beautiful day yesterday. Really, really nice job in qualifying to qualify second in the AM class, and that is where that car number 67 is running right now.
And Andy is here from Bubba Burger. I saw him in the paddock, and
Splendid.
They do a wonderful veggie burger for those of you out there who are vegetarians.
Excellent.
I'm a big fan of it, made with actual vegetables, black beans and bits of celery in there, some peppers. It's very, very nice lunch option. And while we're under full course caution, you do have the option to go out and get a bite to eat, because it is just coming up to 11:43 in the afternoon here in California. Picturesque day. And right now we are behind the safety car for an incident with Sheena Monk in the number 7. Seemed to lose brakes going into the corkscrew, a very fast section of racetrack, and did an amazing job not to take out two cars that were just ahead of her on the circuit. In the LB Cup, all of the runners are new, or either brand new or pretty new to racing. We've got one returning duo from last year. That would be Paris Mullins and Mark Proto, and they are currently leading that championship. But we've seen drivers such as Ryan Hardwick, who's currently 4th in the AM category, come through LB Cup, as well as JC Perez, the co-driver of Laura Spinelli, the car leading overall right now. JC, who won the LB Cup last year, Ryan Hardwick was 2nd in it. It's a perfect class to make your debut, to just sort of dip your toe in the water and race people who have the exact same or very near the same skill level as you.
Yeah, it's great. I really like the way this series is run, and the way the setups are put together. I think we have 2 races over the weekend. We have 2 separate qualifying sessions to determine the starting positions for each of the races. In the Pro and Pro-Am classes, mandatory for this year, you have to run a 2-driver pairing. In AM and LB Cup, you have the option. You can either run solo or you can have a co-driver. If there are those cars that do run with 2 different drivers, each of them will take part in one of the qualifying sessions. We see the red flag out now. So this race is going to be called to a halt here while the damaged car of Sheena Monk is attended to there at the corkscrew. So
decision.
each of the drivers will take a turn during the qualifying session, and whoever qualifies the car will start it in each of the races. So all of the drivers who are sharing, they get to start and finish a race during the race weekend.
Which is a brilliant way to teach how you need to perform in endurance racing. Because if you want to be good at it, you're going to start races and you're going to finish races. You might be wondering, we've got some cars in the field who only have one driver in them, so how is it fair that we have drivers with two cars? Well, there's a mandatory pit stop that comes roughly halfway through the race. That will be amended because of the red flag that we are experiencing right now. The drive times will be adjusted. But if you have only one driver in your car, you must be in the pit lane for a total of 87 seconds. That's from the pit in to the pit exit. And IMSA has a way of monitoring to the exact decimal point how long you have spent in the pit lane. If you shortchange it, you will be getting a penalty. If you are more than a second under the allotted time, then you have to do a drive-through. If you are slightly less than a second, then your time is tripled and added to your time on the racetrack. So they do have a very fair way of making sure that everybody serves the pit lane time. If you only have two drivers, you're only on the pit lane for 84 seconds. So a 3-second advantage to cars with two drivers. They figure that's about the time that it takes for the new driver, to get up to pace with the car, the handling, the track conditions. And it's proven to be pretty adequate, Jeremy, this year. Yeah,
it has worked very, very well. They've tweaked the rules over the last few years in various different aspects of how the series are run, but I think they've got it done really, really nicely now. And you're right, if one driver is doing the entire 50-minute race, he or she will come into the pits, make the pit stop, and then when they resume, they'll know exactly how the track conditions are. They'll know how much grip there is from the tyres. They'll have cooled down a little bit during the pit stop, certainly, but with him last night, Marmaranu, yes, and he originally from Romania. He's a heart surgeon who practices at UCLA in Southern California. Very accomplished surgeon, certainly, and a very accomplished driver as well. He has one of Olaf Mante's Porsche 911 GT3, or sorry, RSR, what are they called nowadays? RSR GT3R, which he races in all sorts of events all the way around, not only around the country, but actually around the world. He'll be here at Rennsport in a few weeks' time. He also this year did the Pikes Peak Hill Climb. He's one of a dozen drivers, I believe, who were invited to drive the GT4 Caymans up there. He's done the Baja 1000. He's raced at Nürburgring. You name it, he's done it, and a tremendous character as well.
So really not afraid of the high horsepower, high risk sort of cars and tracks.
No, and he'd already signed up for this weekend to drive in the Porsche Pirelli Trophy events that are taking place here this weekend. But he got a call earlier this week from some of his friends at Lamborghini. He knows everybody, does Dr. Alex. He got a call. Would you be interested in driving in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo as well? Good idea, he said. Pulled a few strings.
I've got some free time.
Got a hold of the IMSA folks, and with all his racing experience, getting a license, no problem. He had it in super fast time. He was very, very impressed with the whole organization here to put it all together to make it happen. And here he is driving for the PPM team this weekend in place of David Roberts, who was supposed to drive that car. He was on the entry list to drive this weekend. The MMA fighter, also done a fair bit of racing in other series. Again, he was due to make his debut, but in his last fight a couple of weeks ago, he won it, but he also broke his hand. So good news, bad news there, but unable therefore to make his debut in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo series this weekend. And Dr. Alex got the call and was here in a flash. And so Thursday was the first time he'd ever driven the car, first time he'd actually seen the car, I think, and loved it. It was a full day of practice for him. It's a test day, both in the Porsches and the Lamborghinis, but had a huge amount of track time, loved every second of it. And when I met him last night for the first time, just a super character and was really, really having a good time.
We love when people like that come into the different series underneath the IMSA umbrella, because they just bring a certain enthusiasm that you can't express well enough. It's infectious to be around people with that sort of encouragement and excitement. It's like little kids on Christmas morning.
Yeah, that's exactly where he looked last night. He was just positively bubbling. about these cars, and quite different, of course, hopping between the Porsche and the Lamborghini. Both very impressive race cars, certainly, but he found there's more sort of driver aids, if you like, in Lamborghini, and these cars have ABS. I believe, and the Caymans don't. I think that's the way it is. But
that would make sense.
He found it a little bit easier going from the Porsche to the Lamborghini, as from the Lamborghini to the Porsche. But a busy day for him and a busy weekend. But certainly he's giving a good account of him. He will take over that car from Rob Eklund Jr., who's doing the first stint in car number 47.
And while we have a moment here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, a lot of fans out around the track. Remember, mix in your beverage choice with some water. It's good to have the H2O every now and then. And while the track is quiet, yes, Jeremy, going for a sip of that. While we have the track quiet, thank you to all of our marshals and flaggers and every volunteer out there. We couldn't race if you weren't here, so thank you very much for giving up some of your Saturday. It's a great thing it's nice weather today with a stiff breeze coming in now. That's picked up since this morning, and just ideal conditions to go racing, which hopefully we'll be able to do here shortly. Still 32 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock, and we are under a red flag for a crash at the top of the corkscrew. A very scary moment for the number 7 of Sheena Monk and all of the other cars waiting on the pit lane to find out when they will get an opportunity to go back out and racing. But most important thing is to get that car cleared up and to make sure that Sheena is okay.
Yeah, as you can see, they're just absolutely glorious conditions. It couldn't be better. Not a cloud in the sky. There was some thick fog down in the valley once again this morning as we came into the racetrack, but that burned off. It seems to be burned off now, actually, but when we came over the crest of the hill into the kind of natural bowl that is WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, it was crystal clear. Just amazing change coming up the hill. It was the same yesterday morning. It was even more stark as the contrast yesterday morning, perhaps, but no, glorious up here right now and in for a good day of racing.
It'll be interesting later on as the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge race comes to a close, because that fog that you were talking about, the marine layer, just sort of started to creep over the hills at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we will still be racing at 5, so I'm wondering how long it'll take before that starts to really play a factor. Not saying that we'll lose visibility by any means, but the temperature change does come into effect. And especially on the pit lane, you can feel all of a sudden the need perhaps for the sleeves to be pulled down a little bit further.
Yeah, very much so, and that's certainly one of the characteristics of this racetrack here. It is very susceptible to temperature changes, and it can alter the balance of the cars quite significantly. And certainly quite a few of the drivers in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge were complaining of that yesterday. They were saying the car was working beautifully at a certain temperature. Then when it either rose or fell away, the temperature, the balance of the car changed, and a lot more tricky to drive.
For Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series, though, both races taking place at pretty much the same times on Saturday and Sunday, so they don't have to worry about a temperature change.
No, that's certainly a good advantage for the teams and drivers.
Yeah, and something they're not used to.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, they tend to be all over the clock, don't they? That's right, on a regular race weekend.
Last at night, first in the morning. Just sort of at random intervals, but it's very rare on a weekend that both races would take place at the same time in the day, and even more rare that the weather would be this consistent. It's not something we've seen so far this year. Starting out in Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course back in May, then we had a little break for most of June, went to Watkins Glen the last weekend of June, then off to Road America, the land of cheese, the first weekend of August, off to VIR a couple weeks ago. Now out here, this is the last leg of the American Championship. The next time that these cars race will be in Vallelunga in Italy in the middle of November.
Yeah, that'll be the championship finale. So these are the 9th and 10th rounds of the championship taking place this weekend. 11th and 12th will be in Vallelunga. And it's pretty remarkable how the honours have been shared around in all 4 of the categories. In the pro class, all 4 cars that are here have won races. The Brandon Godovic Shinya Minchimi car just won, but the Corey Lewis Madison Snow car for Change Racing, Trent Hinman and Jonathan Chicodo both won. They've won twice, and the championship leaders, Eduardo Piscopo and Taylor Proto, they've got 3 wins to their name. In Pro-Am, certainly the dominant car has been Laura Spinelli and JC Perez in car number 71, but Stephen McAleer and Randy Soleri, they won one of the races at Road America, and the first round of the championship was won by Patrick Liddy and Dylan Murcott, neither of whom are here this weekend, but that's a good share in there. And in AM, it's been pretty much the same there, with 4 different cars already having victories to their credit.
Well, and it's interesting to bring up the point about the race that was won at Road America by Soleri and McAleer, because they were 2 laps down on the next in class at the time, but there was a crash for the current leaders, the number 71, Laura Spinelli and JC Perez. If you don't cross the start-finish line, you don't finish the race, which means you don't get points. So the car, even though it was 2 laps down, was awarded the win, which meant that the championship gap shrunk a little bit. It hasn't really been that much of a factor coming through, because it has been such a good performance all year from the 71 crew, and they've been consistently there at every single weekend. But you need to finish to get the points.
Yeah, and plus Stephen McAleer and Randy Soleri, they didn't make the trip to Watkins Glen, so they missed out there. Plus, they didn't score any points in the second round of the championship at Mid-Ohio, because it was a disastrous weekend for Wayne Taylor Racing. All, what was it, four
I think
cars?
They had 5 cars.
5 cars, and all of them had problems with wheels departing the scene. So they parked those cars. The problem reared itself again early in race 2, and they decided to park all the cars for precautionary reasons after that. So none of them scored any points at all. So that put them well behind in the championship reckoning. And certainly in the pro category, particularly significant for Trent Hinman and Jonathan Chucolo. But since then, they've been working their way back into contention for the championship, and just 14 points behind with 4 races remaining. That's very much achievable to overcome that deficit.
It is. It's not out of the question by any means. And then we have also a dealers championship as well as a teams championship coming into this weekend. Change Racing, so the 29 Lamborghini leading the way on 86 points, 2 ahead of US Racetronics. So it's still up to play for there as well.
Very much so, and again, the top 5 teams are still within 14 points. Change Racing, US Racetronics, P1 Motorsports, PPM, and Wayne Taylor Racing, all covered by just 14 points, and all of those teams already with victories this season. It has been a remarkably open campaign.
Very diverse. I like that. In the dealers, it's California leading Florida right now, Jeremy, so you're beating me.
That's right, but Florida's in second and third, aren't they, with Palm Beach and Broward in the second and third position, separated by just 1 point to the second and third place dealers in the dealer championship. Beverly Hills, represented by US Racetronics, they've got a 6-point advantage, but that's not too much, with 15 points for a win in each of the rounds, and goes down to 3 points for an 8th place finish. So there's I think 8 dealers represented this weekend. Broward in 3rd place, Paramus dealership from New Jersey in 4th position, and then tied for 5th are Carolinas and Atlanta. And Carolinas was represented by Change Racing for the first 4 races of the season. Since then, they've switched allegiance to Charlotte. But if you put all their team points together for Carolinas and Charlotte, they would be on 86 points. But which would be enough to put them in the championship lead. Yeah. Actually, that would change a little bit, actually, with a couple of other variations. But the point is that Change Racing does lead the team championship at the moment with 86 points. And it's been a very, as you say, open season with 3.5 rounds remaining.
Yeah, well, and Broward leading right now on the track, because the Pro-Am entrant, the number 71, they are the only entrant representing Broward. Woot woot, I do have to say, having been I am a Broward resident. I was going to say having been one, since I haven't been home very much lately, Jeremy. But in Beverly Hills, with their best car, the number 50 in 3rd.
That's right. So that would be a 5-point swing. The points distribution in the IMSA Lamborghini Super Trofeo: 15 points for the win, 12 for 2nd place, 10 for 3rd, 8 and then 6 for 5th, and 5, 4, 3 down from there. So if the result was to stay as it is right now, that would be 15 points for Broward, which would take them up to 90 points. Beverly Hills would score 10, which would take them up to 92. So that would be just a 2-point gap at the top of the dealer championship.
In terms of the consistency that we have seen from the current leader, the number 71, they have, we have groundhogs coming out on the track, or gophers. What's the technical term, Jeremy? For the little creatures? Rodents, yes. We have rodents coming out on the track.
No, unfair.
No, they are very cute, but they're holes that they leave up on the hill that you can step in and twist an ankle. Oh, he's so cute, sitting up and looking around going, hey, where's the racing? But we are under a red flag if you were just joining us. That's why Jeremy and I are reminiscing. Oh, and there's another one. Oh, they look a bit like muskrats. I know they're not, but I'm thinking of Timon from Timon and Pumbaa, that famous duo. The current leaders on the racetrack when we went to red flag, the number 71 Pro-Am and leading overall right now, Laura Spinelli and JC Perez. They lead the Pro-Am championship partly because they either win or they don't finish. They have 6 races this year where they have won the class and only 2 where they have not finished. So consistency is the way to win a championship, and they've had a very successful first go at the Pro-Am championship, much like JC Perez last year in the LB Cup.
It's been great racing in all the classes, in the dealer and the team championships. I mean, with 4 races to go, 3/4 of the season done, all of them absolutely wide open. Perhaps not so much in Pro-Am drivers, but certainly the Pro and the Am are very, very tightly contested.
And in LB Cup, this race will change that because Mark Proto and Paris Mullins are the only 2 drivers who have done every single race. Sheena Monk was putting on a really good battle back in the championship, though. 86 points versus 102 for that duo just ahead of her. And they will be getting better points this weekend because they will finish the race, and sadly she will not.
No, that's right.
Ryan Hardwick has 100 points in the AM category ahead of Damon Oakey on 92 after getting that pole position. So that's only an 8-point battle, and that's far from over.
Well, very much so, because with the win, if it was to say as it is right now, Damon Oakey leads from the pole position, so that would be 16 points for him. Shea Holbrook will score 12 for second place. Brian Thenis in third place, 10 points. His teammate, of course, to Damon Oakey for US Racetronics, and Ryan Hardwick, the championship leader, down in the 4th position, which is 8 points. So that would be an 8-point differential, which would mean, as it stays right now, that Damon Oakey would be just 1 point behind going into tomorrow's 10th round of the championship. So very, very tight there.
But didn't he get pole position for race 2 as well?
Yes, true. Yep, absolutely. Yes, he did.
So it would be tied.
So that would be a tie.
Oh my gosh. And in terms of the pro class, with Trent Hinman and Jonathan Chicotto, if they take home the first place honors, and then the 50, so our championship leaders, take home second, that would be 95 points for the number 1 car, and it would be, I can't do that math off the top of my head, 107 points for the 50. So again, if the 1 continues to win, they're putting on a charge.
Yep.
Making up for that bad first weekend.
That's exactly right. They scored a total of only 7 points from the first weekend, whereas Corey Lewis and Madison Snow swept the weekend. Didn't get either of the poles, but they did get the 2 wins. That was 30 points to just the 7 of Trent Hinman and Jonathan Chicotto. So that was a big hole to dig out of, but they made up a goodly part of that. And as I say, just 14 points now out of the championship lead. 4th position in the points in pro class.
Does the 29 have a pole yet this year?
The 29 does have a pole in the last round. The most recent race at VIR, that was that car's only pole.
Corey.
That's right, yeah.
Yes.
He finished second place there. That was Corey's first pole for a long, long time, actually. I think the last pole was 4 or 5 years ago in this class. He's a former Pro-Am champion, world champion in Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Is Corey Lewis.
And a very, very good peddler in the GTD category of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship in a Lamborghini. So very accomplished, driving the bull in more than one category. Work continues at the top of the corkscrew, the tires being put back into place, and no sign of a Lamborghini in the gravel anymore, so that has been cleared away. 19 minutes to go in this race if we can get things back to green. And thank you very much to all of our safety workers out around the track and all the people up at the top of the corkscrew working as diligently as they can to try and get us back to some green flag racing.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how it's going to work from here because, as you say, only 18 minutes remaining right now. It's going to be a few minutes yet, certainly, before we're able to get back to racing conditions. And generally, these races are run such that they are 50 minutes in duration. There is a mandatory pit stop that has to be made any time between 20 and 30 minutes into the race. So basically, there's a 10-minute window around half distance. Well, we're already past half distance, so I'm not quite sure how they're going to run it, whether they will send the cars out on track again to kind of come around and then make their pit stops, or allow the changes to be made now while everybody is on pit lane. But it is under red flag, so effectively park firm A condition. So as it stands right now, no crew is allowed to work on the cars or make any changes to the car or the driver at this stage.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of camera shots. And by the way, thank you very much to all of our camera operators out there, too. We're glad it's perfect weather for you guys. Tess, Allison, Ray, saw him yesterday, B.A. We're grateful that you guys are here. And thanks for showing us the cute little rodents, because they're fun to see. There have been no teams going out to the cars, but there have been race officials that have been talking to the drivers when the doors have been swung open. These things are hot to sit in. They are massive beasts, Lamborghinis, more than 640 horses per car. And when you're sitting in there with the door closed, it doesn't matter how beautiful the California day is, you can still feel the heat radiating in. It's kind of my heaven, Jeremy.
Yes, absolutely right. They are.
All right, under 5 minutes until we get back to green. The command has just come up on the timing screen, which means we will be back to green at around 12, or back with engines started at the very least, around 12 minutes to go. So the second driver's not going to be getting a lot of time to sit in the car during this race, and the primary driver's not getting a lot of time to race, unfortunately.
That's right. I think the way it's going to happen then, I believe that all of the cars will take the green flag and most likely be on pit lane next time around. That generally speaking, the pits are closed during a full course caution, which a red counts that way. So I would imagine that they will not be able to make their pit stops until they've completed one more lap, and then they will pretty much have to do so. It's going to be a busy pit lane. It's going to be awfully quiet out on the racetrack.
And everybody,
for a couple of minutes.
Everybody must make a pit stop. So even if you only have one driver, you still have to come in and you still have to wait for the amount of time. It's going to be very interesting, though, Jeremy, because that 87 seconds that you need to be versus the 84, when everybody comes in together, that means that all the two-car tandems, and effectively everybody's on the exact same situation. The tires are cold, the brakes are cold. You've got a car that you don't even know how it's handling, even though you started the race. That's
right, but that is going to play into the favour, is it not, of particularly Shea Holbrook and Martin Barkey, because their pit stop is going to be 3 seconds quicker than the other contenders around them. Yeah, all of them around them. Damien Oakey, Brian Thenis, Ryan Hardwick and Cam Castles. All of them will be remaining in the car during their pit stops. They are solo drivers in the AM category, and that will give the two-driver combination a little bit of an edge there. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Of course, the time, that minimum pit stop time, is from the moment they enter the pit lane. There's a line at the entrance to pit lane until there's another line at the exit of the pit lane. That is the minimum pit stop time. So the teams have to judge that.
Yes.
They have they've had all day on Thursday during the test day, and yesterday in practice and qualifying to determine how long it takes them to get from their pit stall to the pit exit line.
Yep.
And you want to cut it as close as you can. I mean, you don't want to be wasting time, spending more time on pit lane than you need to, as we see the yellow flags brandished there on the start-finish line. So the cars have now been waved underway again behind the Lamborghini safety car. So you don't want to spend any more time on pit lane than you need to. But as you were talking about earlier on, you don't want to undercut that time either. If it's less than a second, you explained this a little while ago. But if your pit stop is less than a second shorter than the minimum, the penalty will be 3 times that amount. So if you're half a second too soon crossing the pit exit line, the penalty will be 1.5 seconds. If anything more than a second, it's a drive-through. So that'll pretty much end your chances of the race. So it's very critical to hit that exit of the pit lane time as close as you can.
But there are also penalties for changing your speed on the pit lane because you realize that you're going to be perhaps under, and so you decide to slow down dramatically. That would be a drive-through penalty.
Yeah.
There's a lot of barriers that IMSA has erected to try and stop people from playing a little bit of a game and trying to gain an advantage in that pit stop sequence. It's going to be very interesting to see how people handle that, and particularly to see which teams manage better than others, because we have seen, and I'm thinking back to Road America, certain teams who just don't seem to get it right, whether it's the pit lane speed limiter that's not working and they're consistently 7 kph over. You really don't want a speeding penalty because that in itself is a drive-through.
Yeah.
There's so much that can go wrong with the pit stop.
Yeah, you are right, but so hopefully they've got their timing right. They should know by now how long it takes to get from their pit stop, from their pit stall at a standstill to the pit exit line at the 50 kilometers an hour.
Would be
now
60.
60 kilometers an hour. Okay, so what's that, 40 miles an hour thereabouts.
It's a lot safer.
There is a system on the car. They do have a pit lane limiter on the car, which determines how fast that car will go on pit lane.
Yes.
There isn't. I don't believe they have a system on them. Okay, right. So the pace car is going to come in this time. I don't think anybody's going to be allowed to make a pit stop this time. So they are all going to take the green flag.
The pit lane remains closed when the safety car comes in. You must go for 1 green flag lap. And we are back to racing with just under 12 minutes to go. Race 1 at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Series resumes after a lengthy red flag. We'll get you some more information when we have it on the driver's condition. But Loris Spinelli leads Trent Hinman. And Trent is the kind of guy that you don't really want to give him time to think about how to get around you, because he will take full advantage of that as Shea Holbrook fights off Brian Thenis going into turn 3. And as they exit turn 4, Thenis has now fallen back into the clutches of Ryan Hardwick. Championship Ryle. Hardwick goes up the inside at 4 and gets it done. Well executed pass, Ryan Hardwick.
Yeah, that could be crucial in the championship stakes, of course. Brian Thenis is a teammate to Damon Oakey, so he'll be disappointed in allowing Hardwick an opportunity there to make that pass. Also coming off turn 3, Trent Hinman got that car number 1 a little bit sideways as well. So a little bit of momentum to Loris Spinelli. The lead as he enters the corkscrew at the top of the hill is already out to 10 or 12 car lengths, and once again a really good first lap from Loris Spinelli.
Now we'll have to see if he makes the dive over towards driver's left after the exit of turn 9. Does he decide to come into the pit lane? Yeah, it looks like it. No, he drags the car back over to the right, but Trent Hinman comes in. So Jonathan Chicotto will take over for Hinman, but Spinelli staying out. Piscopo stays out in the 50 as Brandon Godovic pits in the red and black, number 46. Madison Snow, Mike Hedlund, and Damon Oakey all staying out as well. Shea Holbrook has pitted in that number 67 Lamborghini to hand over to Martin Barkey. And who else have we got in? Cameron Castles is in. Brett Meredith is in. William Hubble, who will be handing over to Prototype Challenge champion Alex Popoff, also in the pit lane. And Randy Solari never came back out in the number 10. Interesting. Wonder if perhaps there was some sort of issue with the car while he was sitting on the pit lane. But
well, he's the mentor of Sheena Monk.
Ah.
So I'm sure he was pretty upset to see the incident there for Sheena at the corkscrew.
As we all are, honestly. Loris Spinelli leads. Eduardo Piscopo. Madison Snow, who is involved in the championship battle, separated 2 points to that number 50 that he is chasing on the racetrack now. A second between the 50 and the 29. Madison will be looking to try and get around Eduardo Piscopo before he gets out of that number 29 white Lamborghini and hands over to Corey Lewis.
So under 10 minutes remaining in this race, and it's really interesting to me that so many cars should elect not to come in to make their pit stops at the earliest opportunity.
And again, Spinelli stays out, so he does not come onto the pit lane this time around. Piscopo also staying out. Is Snow? Yes, he is. Mike Headland stays out. Damon Oakey comes into the pit lane, though, in the 09 from the AM lead. Car 10 has retired, just receiving confirmation of that. So they will not resume. But Laura Spinelli has resumed the race brilliantly, taking full advantage of a clean racetrack ahead of him, as there is a gaggle of cars together on the racetrack after 2 of them come out of the pit lane and 2 of them are still warm from running around with, well, almost 3 laps under their belts now at this point. That is the 17 was involved in that battle, and the 88 of Paris Mullins. I saw the 66 of Brett Meredith as well. And Damon Oakey just waiting very patiently. The crew handing over a water bottle to Damon. I'm sure he'll need to rehydrate, having sat behind the wheel of the Lamborghini under the red flag. Roasting slowly in an oven for a Canadian is not something that they often enjoy. Let's see, does Spinelli come into the pit lane? Yes, he does. So that time around, the 71 into the pit lane. I would imagine that the 50 and the 29 will follow suit. And no, they don't. Both of them still stay out. So Eduardo Piscopo and Madison Snow still out on the racetrack, which means that the 50 is now our leader. For the first time in this race, we have a different leader, and it comes in the shape of Eduardo Piscopo's blue Lamborghini, ahead of the white for Madison Snow in the number 29. Mike Headland, Pro-Am entrant, is currently 3rd, has yet to make his pit stop and hand over to Pippa Mann. That will be coming up. Mike Headland will be loving this. Jeremy, you talked with him the other day, and he was so excited about driving these cars, such a high horsepower challenge. It's something that Mike Headland is well used to.
Yeah, Mike had just a huge grin on his face yesterday.
Yeah.
Again, he was somebody from Woodside, California, so this is his home track for Mike Headland. He has driven the car for the very first time early this week at Buttonwillow Raceway Park down in the Central Valley, just north of Bakersfield, and he's really got up to speed very, very quickly.
Incident involving Cameron Castles is under review. Don't know what that was for, but we'll let you know when we get some more information on our timing screen. The 50 stays out again. Yes, he does. Eduardo Piscopo going around one more time. We're at 6 minutes and 11 seconds remaining in this race. How many more laps can he do? How many more laps can Madison Snow do in the 29? Both of them have stayed out, as has Mike Headland. Ryan Hardwick in the number 2, leading the AM class, still yet to pit. Paris Mullins in the number 88, still yet to pit.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why they would be staying out so long, to be perfectly honest.
Well, they're keeping their second drivers very much refreshed for the end of the race. The 67 is kicking up a ton of smoke from the left rear. That's Martin Barkey. Is that a tire rub going on the left rear of that Lamborghini? I think so. I don't think that's an engine expiring. He's still going. Martin Barkey, a very fast Canadian, leading another very fast Canadian, Damon Oakey. And their smoke continues to billow out. As was there contact between the 2 Canadians? Yes, there was. Damon Oakey driving into the left rear of Martin Barkey, and that is where the smoke has come from. As a bit of bodywork is pushed up.
That position change there was as a result of the pit stops, because the number 67 car, of course, that shorter pit stop, we talked about that a while ago. Martin Barkey then came out in the lead of the Pro-Am class there, and that was a pretty stout hit.
Yeah.
So we're going to hope that hasn't damaged that left rear. It has damaged that left rear corner
and
on car number 67. I think it's probably got a puncture.
Oof. And there was almost an incident as both cars dove toward the pit lane. Car 69 has a penalty. That is the William Hubble and Alex Popoff car for the engine running during the driver change. But for the 67, that is now a left rear puncture, and Martin Barkey is going at the slowest speed he possibly can while urging his car toward the pit box. He'll need a new tire, but that is effectively any shot at the win gone. He will be fuming. he and Shea Holbrook in that number 67 machine had a really good shot at the AM win, and that is gone from the 09.
Right, and I think we're going to see a notification on the screen pretty shortly to say that was under review, because that was, well, it's a pretty silly mistake, to be perfectly honest, because Damon Oakey has a big speed advantage. Well, not a big speed advantage. He certainly has an advantage on speed there. He just, and it was on the exit of the corner that he hit him. Okay, I think Martin Barkey there got a little bit sideways in the middle of the corner, had to lift off the throttle, but Damon Oakey probably should have anticipated that. And that contact really wasn't required.
And race control has been just that, Jeremy. Incident responsibility to that 09 of Damon Oakey, a drive-through penalty. So he will be coming onto the pit lane, which means that the car right ahead of him, Brian Thenis, who he is battling the championship with, let's not forget, Thenis is still in the championship as well, will now be well and truly clear ahead as Oakey elects not to come into the pit lane to serve his penalty that time around. He's got 3 laps to do it, and then race control will intervene. Ryan Hardwick is the current AM leader and also the championship leader for the AM category, but he is in the pit lane right now serving his mandatory pit stop. Eduardo Piscopo leads in the number 50, still having not pitted. We are at 2 minutes and 44 seconds to go in this race. Round 1 of the weekend, round 9 of the championship. And Eduardo Piscopo is not leaving a lot of time for Taylor Proto to drive.
No, and Ryan Hardwick then the AM leader, because he's the only one, the other car not yet to have stopped. So he is on pit lane now to make his mandatory pit stop.
Just waiting very patiently. No water bottle needed. All the crew guys up on the pit wall with the stopwatches going. They want to make sure that they get this exact, because coming in with the championship lead of 8 points as Cameron Castles has gone off at turn 5 backwards into the gravel. Can he get it going again? I don't know that he can. 640 horses, when you try and lay them down on gravel, doesn't exactly work well. He got help, though. Was that Brett Meredith or was that JC Perez? It was one of the P1 Motorsports Lamborghinis, the green and black, and Cameron Castles has
almost
no grip.
Certainly number 66 car, Brett Meredith. Those 2 cars identical, the black and green livery, but they had been running together before the pit stops. So that would be my guess there. So finally, after 14 laps and only a minute and a half remaining, I mean, he doesn't have time to serve the pit stop.
He's going to go back out on the track and find the checkered flag for the number 50. Very odd, as Eduardo Piscopo now out of that machine for US Racetronics. Taylor Proto has jumped in. So the number 71, which is in second place, JC Perez right now on the racetrack coming up to turn 6, as the 50 sits in the pit lane with the lead. This is going to be an interesting race off of the pit lane. JC Perez holding off Shinya Mashimi. Now this is for the overall position, but it is not in class. JC Perez has the Pro-Am win. If he lets Shinya Mashimi by, it affects nothing, but he wants the honor of perhaps winning a race overall, depending on where the 50 comes back out. And Shinya Mashimi wants the overall win, as the full course caution is out, which saves the bacon of the number 71, because Mashimi was looking quite hungry, and that means with 30 seconds to go.
Number 29 car is right there as well in 3rd position. That was the battle for the leader. Taylor Proto is now making his way out of the pit lane, so all he's got to do now is run around to take the checkered flag. I think he's, where is he? Yeah.
But the safety car has picked up the 71 and is just ahead.
Correct.
As the 50 is coming around.
He's right in front of us now.
So the 50 will have nearly a lap of advantage.
Yeah, and it'll just now run around. The checkered flag will be out this time round, so the 50 car will win the race, at least on the road. But the fact that Taylor Proto hasn't even done a green flag lap, I must admit I don't know all the regulations. I'm presuming the teams do. But I was certainly surprised not to see the other drivers coming to make the pit stops. They have to make the pit stops between 20 and 30 minutes into the race. Now it's a red flag. Does that count or does that not count in terms of the driving time? That's going to be something for the officials. I think race control is going to be a pretty busy place for a while here.
And also they're probably going to need to call up the number 47 for a visit as well, as the safety car has now come and trying to pick up the 50, and the 50 has been passed by the 71 behind the safety car.
That's very bizarre.
Was that perhaps an edict handed down that we didn't see, that the 50 was told to slow down and give the position? It's very confusing.
Yeah, no, you got me there, sorry.
Yeah.
Can't shed much light on that one.
But I was going to say the 47 might need to make a trip to race control as well, because that was definitely not safety car speed as it went past the number 50 going up through turn 6. Now the 50 has retaken its position on the racetrack.
Yeah, but you can't pass. You cannot pass under yellow. I mean, that is the rule. And for some reason, having let the safety car go past, Taylor Proto didn't tuck in behind it. And by the same token, of course, the number 71 car shouldn't be passing the 50, so I don't know. This is going to take some sorting out, folks, which is a shame, because this was a really good race. It was all looking really, really interesting, and I believe, although as it will be Taylor Proto that will take the checkered flag for his second victory of the season and his young career, I think there is more to this race that will be continued in race control over the coming minutes and perhaps even hours.
I'll tell you how they are now. The number 50 is the winner overall and of the pro class, Taylor Proto, but Eduardo Piscopo doing the driving. JC Perez, winner in Pro-Am in the number 71, shares with Laura Spinelli. Second in Pro is the 46, Shinya Mishimi and Brandon Godovic, and third in Pro, the number 29, Corey Lewis and Madison Snow. Fifth overall and second in Pro-Am is the number 63 of Mike Headland and Pippa Mann. Sixth overall is our Am winner, Brian Thenis in the 17. So what started off as a horrendous weekend for Thenis has turned out to be a little bit better. Ryan Hardwick second in that class in the number 2. And our LB Cup winners, Mark Proto and Paris Mullins in the number 88, ahead of Brett Meredith in the 66.
Thank you very much to Shea and Jeremy. An incident-packed race. No doubt from what I saw from those pictures there that the 50 car was rolling and was going out of the pit lane before the safety car was called, and certainly before the 71 and 46 JC Perez and Shinya Mishimi were on the front straight. Just managed to see that. So we have given you the results as they have crossed the line. Make sure you check imsa.com for any changes after the effect. Shane, Jeremy, thank you very much indeed. We've got another race from the Lamborghini Super Trofeo at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca this weekend, and once again it will be live in its entirety in sound and vision on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. Bye bye.